everybody, welcome in. I hope you're making yourselves comfortable and getting ready to watch the service. I'm here today with Corey and Chase.
Hey guys.
Hello.
And we're going to tell you guys about the announcements and the stuff that we've got going on at SCF.
Awesome. One of the first things that I want to talk about is this. We have social media. We have Facebook, we have Instagram, we have Twitter, and we have YouTube. We have a channel on YouTube. And I would encourage you, if you don't already subscribe to us on YouTube, why don't you go to youtube.com, search for Silver Creek Fellowship, and subscribe to our channel. That'll keep you up to date on all of the videos that we post. And right now, this is an excellent time to invite someone to join us today to this service. You can use your influence on social media to invite someone to church. If you're watching live with us, you can click the invite button that's in the chat right now. It'll just take you a couple of seconds and you can use your Facebook to invite people to church. Why don't you take a second and do it as we continue getting ready for the service?
And if you're needing a little bit of extra help this month, or you're wanting to help, you can visit us at scf.tv/COVID-19 to learn about the ways that we help and give help.
Awesome.
One of the resources that we have available that you can access on scf.tv, it's free, is the Right Now media. There's a lot of great resources on there. There's Bible studies, stuff for kids. There's even a playlist that Silver Creek Fellowship has put together of stuff that might be helpful for you. It's for all ages and it's free to anyone with Silver Creek Fellowship.
That's right. Well, welcome this morning to Silver Creek Fellowship. If you're just now tuning in with us, my name's Corey and I've got Tiffany and Chase here with me.
Hey, everybody.
Hello.
And we are really excited to worship with you in just a few minutes. I want to tell you quickly about something we've been doing on social media. It's hashtag SCF Home Church. And this is an opportunity for us to be able to see each other at this time. Even though we physically can't be in the same room as each other, it's an opportunity for us to just get a chance to see each other in our day-to-day lives. So if you would like to post a picture of yourself or your family, maybe you want to post a picture of yourself watching this service, or maybe you just want to post a picture of yourself doing anything at home, why don't you do that? Post it on social media, use the hashtag SCF Home Church and tag Silver Creek Fellowship in the picture. We'd love to do that so that you can see each other through our social media, and every week in our pre-service, we'll be featuring a couple of the pictures that people have posted. We'll start off with this one. Last week, Doug and Lynn Brownell posted this picture, and this is a picture of them last Sunday watching the service live together with us on their couch. Also last Sunday, Kurt posted this picture of his wife Summer, specifically honoring his wife Summer because it was Mother's Day last week, and with some pictures of them. I want you to notice here too, you might see, I left this on Facebook, you'll notice Miss Debbie Amon was the first person to like this picture, which is not surprising since I'm pretty sure that Debbie exclusively lives on Facebook. But you guys all have a chance this week to post some pictures and have them shared around and get a chance to see each other. Also, I want to encourage you, it's not Mother's Day this week, but you can still honor your mother. If you have a picture of your mother and you'd like to post something about her and honor her that way, you're welcome to do that. Post it online, tag SCF Home Church, tag Silver Creek Fellowship on it so that we can see, and we'd love to keep up. Hey, by the way, did you guys like Summer's testimony last week? Y'all had a chance to see that? Yeah,
it was powerful.
Yeah, it was. It was a really good testimony. And I'm really excited later on in the service today. We've got another great testimony coming from Brittany. She's going to share with us, and it's going to be awesome. All right. Well, Tiffany, why don't you continue on with our announcements? Let us know what else is going on.
So you may have noticed in that picture with Summer is Kurt Barnes, her husband. He is a pastor at Silver Creek Fellowship, and he does a daily podcast. It's about 5 minutes long. It's a great little daily meditation, Bible study with relevant thoughts. He's going through the book of John right now. It's free. You can find it at scf.tv.
Awesome.
Yeah, and if you are middle school or high school, you can join us every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Usually goes till 8 to 8:30 p.m. In our Zoom meetings, and we play lots of fun games like Jackbox. Today we did Jeopardy. You can find more information about that at scf.tv/students.
Awesome. And hey, what's with this podcast that I've been hearing about for students?
Oh yeah, Devin is actually putting together a podcast for the students. They're short, quick ones. We don't do a lot of learning like we used to do in person, so we're replacing that with a podcast now. So yeah, a little
Awesome.
extra thing for all the middle schoolers and high schoolers to do.
Sweet. So parents, if you have a middle school or high school student, I encourage you take this time to make sure that they stay close to Jesus. Encourage them. Go to scf.tv/students and encourage them to take part, listen to that podcast, and to join into the weekly meetings. Well, one other thing I'll talk about real quick. We have an e-newsletter. This goes out every single week on Friday, and it's a great way to keep up to date with what's going on at Silver Creek. Latest announcements about events, some family news. This last week we had some prayer points for our partners overseas in Gabon. There's all sorts of information that we want to get out to you, and if you would like to be receiving that, make sure to go to our website, scf.tv, sign up for the e-newsletter so that you can keep up to date. We've had several people ask us, we're not at the building anymore. Is it just like sitting there collecting dust? And well, in some ways, yes, it is certainly getting dustier than maybe it normally does, but actually we've made all sorts of changes in order to facilitate the church online that we're doing now. So we're just going to take a couple of minutes, and I'm going to take you right now and show you around the way it's set up. Well, hey, I'm here at the church building, and I know several of you have wondered what exactly it looks like now that we haven't been here for several weeks. I know for several of you, you probably haven't seen the way it's set up and some of the changes we've made. We thought it might be fun to give you a little behind-the-scenes tour of what's going on and what it looks like. So let's go take a look around. So here I am inside of the lodge, our kids ministry building. You might notice that the walls have all got this new wallpaper. We are doing some work to make this thing look more and more like an actual log lodge, and we're really excited one day to have our kids ministry back in this room, but until then we've just been working on it, getting it ready to go. We've used this place to film a few of the things that you see, but most of our filming now takes place in other locations. By the way, Kirsten and Kathy Barnes did most of the work to get this wallpaper up. A huge thank you to them for all that they have done to make this come together. Well, here's the entryway and the fellowship room, and boy, has this sure changed. Most of the chairs from the auditorium are stacked there in front of the windows, and we've got sort of a station set up where we've been putting together the kids ministry bags and the gifts for mothers, the things we've been handing out on the first Saturdays of the month, and some video equipment here. And also in the fellowship room, we do a lot of the filming for the testimony videos that you've been seeing. So there's some furniture kind of thrown around that we move from place to place, week to week, to get the shots that we want and keep things changed up a little bit. But let's go on and look in the auditorium. And maybe one of the biggest transitions has happened in our auditorium. All of the chairs are gone out of this room, and we've got a whole separate set up, different from the stage we normally use. There's camera lights and these screens, some projectors sitting on what used to be the stage, aimed up at them, and we're really took things apart and made things way different so that we can continue to produce the worship experience that we have on Sunday mornings.
Wow, the church looks really different right now. It's like all set up for filming. So we've got a bunch of online ministries and resources that you can access. Just go to scf.tv/live and you can find a whole list of them.
Welcome everybody, I'm here with Corey and Tiffany.
Hey guys.
And we're just walking you through the announcements and news from FCF.
Silver Creek Fellowship really values our small groups, and we want to make sure that you're not missing out right now. So even if you haven't been in one before, you can join one. We're meeting online, we're doing video chats. Just go to scf.tv/small groups.
That's right. And this is a great time, by the way, to join a small group. If you haven't been in one, this is the easiest time in the world to join a small group, because you don't even have to leave your house to drive somewhere else for the meeting. All you have to do is open up your phone or your tablet and log on to a meeting. So we'd love to get you connected to a small group if you haven't been part of one in the past. This is a great time to do that. All right. Hey, Chase, why don't you talk a little bit about guests and what we can do for them?
Yeah, if you're a new guest with us, you can text the word guest to the number on the screen, and you can get a $5 digital Starbucks card.
Sweet.
So remember that if you're watching live, we're having a 15-minute fellowship time after each service today. Just go to scf.tv/lobby and you can join in the video chat. Drink some coffee, hang out, say hi to everybody.
Yeah. Man, I am so excited about this next announcement. It's a brand new thing that we're trying with Church Online, and I don't even know that I can announce it. I don't think Tiffany should announce it either. In fact, I think Chase is the one that needs to let us know about this next thing.
So, starting today, actually, at 10 a.m., we're going to be doing a Kids Church Online session. You can go to scf.tv/lodge to find that. And we're going to be going through our Bible story and our Mooseberry videos. And then we're going to have a little bit of what we call campfire time before, and just talk to the students and see how they're doing and keep them connected. And
awesome.
It is only going on at 10. So if you are in the second service, I'm sorry it's too late, but you can join us next week.
That's right. We're planning to do this every week at 10 a.m. And by the way, if possible, like Chase said, they're going to be checking in with kids. So if possible, parents, use a laptop or a phone or a tablet that has a camera in it when you go to that site, so that your kids can participate and be able to see each other. But if you don't have access to a computer with a camera, that's okay. You can still go to scf.tv/lodge and participate by watching along and seeing what's going on. But we're really excited to do this, to get our kids together. Parents, please, I want to encourage you to take the time with your kids to get them plugged in to our online kids church. It's going to be a blast.
Well, we're just about to get started watching the service right now, but I want to remind you of just a few things real quick. We have our online services and resources available at scf.tv/live. Also, if you're watching live today, we're going to have a fellowship time for 15 minutes after each service. Just go to scf.tv/lobby to join the video chat. Also, something new that we're doing that I'm really excited about is the Kids Church Online that you can watch every Sunday at 10 a.m.
Awesome. Well, we are starting our service right now, and we're going to have a chance to do all sorts of stuff today. We're going to have a chance to worship by singing together. We're going to have a chance to hear a testimony a little later on in the service. A little later, Kurt's going to give us an opportunity to participate by giving. Rob's going to share from the Bible, and we'll be able to learn. But right now, we want to take a moment and actually connect with you. If you are here in this service, I would ask you to fill out a connection card. If you're watching live with us right now in the chat, there's a button that popped up that you can click to fill out a connection card. If you're watching after the fact on YouTube or Facebook or any other place, you can fill out a connection card any time of the week at scf.tv/connection. But connection cards are the way that we connect with you. You can request prayer. You can ask to talk to a pastor. You can volunteer. You can join a small group. And if you're new with us, you can actually let us know, and we'll make sure to follow up and check in with you, see if we can answer any questions, and just say thank you for coming and being a part of what we're doing at Silver Creek. But right now, we are going to worship together. We're going to sing some songs. Let's join together and let's sing together, because our God is worthy of our praise.
Sorrow, there is an ocean deeper are just not that hard to find. I will praise you on the mountain. I will praise you in the mountains in my way. You're the summer where my feet are. I will praise you in the valleys all the same. No less God within the shadows. No less faithful when the night leads me astray. You're the heaven where my heart is. In the highlands and the heartache all the same. Whoa, whoa. Oh, how far beneath your glory does your kindness extend the path from where your feet rest on the sunrise to where you sweep the sinners past. And you know how to come running if just to shadow me through the night. Trace my steps through all my failure and walk me out the other side. Oh, who could dare ascend that mountain, that valleyed hill called Calvary, but for the one I call Good Shepherd, who like a lamb was slain for me. I will praise you on the mountain. I will praise you in the mountains in my way. You're the summer where my feet are. I will praise you in the valleys all the same. No less God within the shadows. No less faithful when the night leads me astray. You're the heaven where my heart is. In the highlands and the heartache all the same. Whoa, whoa. Wherever I walk through, wherever I am, your name can move mountains. Wherever I stand, if ever I walk through the valley of death, I'll sing through the shadows my song of ascent. Wherever I walk through, wherever I am, your name can move mountains. Wherever I stand, if ever I walk through the valley of death, I'll sing through the shadows my song of ascent, my song of ascent. Whoa, whoa, my song of ascent. Whoa, from the gravest of all valleys come the pastures we call grace, a mighty river flowing upwards from a deep but empty grave. I will praise you on the mountain. I will praise you in the mountains in my way. You're the summer where my feet are. I will praise you in the valleys all the same. No less God within the shadows.
Hello, Silver Creek Fellowship Church family. As we continue with our service today, I want to talk to you about a few different ways you can participate with us today by giving. You can give your regular tithes and offerings. This is what allows us to carry out all of our ministries, and we are seeing a huge increase in the need in our community as a result of COVID-19. You can give right now online by clicking the Give button in the chat box. You can also give online at our website, scf.tv/give, or of course you can still mail your checks to P.O. Box 8 in Silverton, Oregon. Another thing I want to encourage you to do today is give to our local Peace Fund. This fund was established to help local small businesses in our community that are experiencing incredible difficult times because of COVID-19. We believe we are blessed in order to be a blessing to others. And this week, I was able to distribute the very first 4 small business gifts, and they were an incredible blessing to the recipients. Make sure you follow us on Facebook or Instagram to see more about how we are continuing to be a blessing in our community. To give to this fund online, select the Local Peace option in the pull-down menu. And today I want to tell you about one more way you can give, and that is by giving blood at our local Red Cross blood drive. It's going to take place on May 27th at Silverton High School from 11 to 4. The Red Cross is holding this blood drive because they are in desperate need of our help. The blood from this drive will go to local hospitals to help people who have been injured in accidents or sick, having cancer treatments, and especially premature babies. When my wife Summer gave birth to our son Keegan, she hemorrhaged, and if it wasn't for blood transfusions, she would not be with us today. They still have 60 openings for the blood drive, and this is a great way that we can participate in the needs of our community. I will post a link about the blood drive in the chat function, and you can also email localpeace@scf.tv for more information. That's the same place that you can nominate a local business for blessing. We are better together, friends, and we have been incredibly blessed as a church family. And I believe it is for such a time as this that God has called us to partner with Him to being a blessing in our community. Now, as we continue our service today and continue our sermon series called Finding Hope, I want to encourage you to watch this testimony from our friend Brittany Parker. I know that you'll enjoy it.
I didn't know where my family was going to go. I just had this idea on how I wanted to raise my family, and every obstacle presented itself. I was just hopeless. We conceived Braxton when we were 19. And so at that point in time, what do you do? What do you do? I don't know. And so Nathan went off into the Marine Corps, and he served 2 tours in a service of 6 years. I stayed in Sandy and raised Braxton with this idea that I was supposed to do when you become a mom. So that was kind of the struggle. And then just fast forward, 6 years. Then we've got me divorced, rekindling a relationship with Nathan. He had Addison from a prior relationship, and then when we came back together, blending a family just felt easy and simple and something that we could do. That was when we decided that when we blended our family to get married. So life in Sandy was pretty good. We were living in a little ranch first home. And then we started going to a church called Assembly of God, Sandy Assembly of God. And just kind of during our courtship and being newlyweds and becoming second-time parents with Bristol, life felt perfect. Nathan was looking for a career, and he started at OSP in Salem. And so from that point on, he had been commuting from Salem to Sandy. I'd been working in Portland at the VA, and life seemed like there were no hiccups at all. When Nathan got hired on at OSP, he'd been doing that commute for about a year and a half. Came pretty taxing. He was gone for 12 hours a day. And then with my commute into Portland and living in Sandy, it was still, we just kind of felt spread out. And so we moved to Salem. As I sit here and I think about my old church in departing, the picture that I received then was like a send-off. It really felt like we were leaving home. I did a lot of journaling, a lot of praying. It was a good foundation kind of for that, to learn the skills that church had given me. At that point, we were getting ready to move. I was switching jobs from the main hospital in Portland to a small clinic in Salem. When that happened, it was a month after we found out we were gonna have twins. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to call my husband. Like, he was at home on baby duty, putting her down for her nap. I just kind of like hand him the stack, and you see his face just kind of like melting. And it hits him, and you can tell, and he's like, wait, are we having twins? And from that point on, it was literally just a blur. The hardships began with our little home in Salem. It was about 1,100 square feet and 7 of us. And we were done. My hopelessness was, oh my God, I am in this 1,100 square foot house. These babies are about to start walking. So we got to the point where we were ready to move on and kind of just, the green pastures. And so when we started looking for homes to buy, Staten was kind of calling us, and our first home that we put in an offer fell through because the seller had lost his job. And then we quickly found a home in Staten again, and we had gone through the whole process up until the point where we put in our 30-day notice. We were about 2 weeks from closing, and our appraiser underbidded the house about $40,000, and he wouldn't move. And for me, I was postpartum 9 months. My world was so small, I just felt like we had this small house. Things weren't going, per my mom plan, and we had to get out. We had to figure it out. And so I was just hopeless. I did not know what we were going to do. In that situation, the sellers had another offer. They ended our contract. And so when our real estate agent called, I felt so bad. I just cried. I didn't know where my family was gonna go. I just had this idea on how I wanted to raise my family, and every obstacle presented itself. But Nathan found this ad, and he got in touch with our property manager, and we rented a house on Victor Point. Went to Victor Point. And this house, when Nathan and I walked in it, it just felt like peace. It just felt like it was the breath of fresh air that we needed. And life was like, oh, we're back on track, So we moved to this house, and everything fell into place. We got Braxton set up in Silverton with the football community, and we met Chantel there. She told me about Celebrate Recovery. That really sounded like something I was needing in my life. I met a lot of strong women. I'm grateful for them because how many things I'll be able to learn from them still. So that was our foundation, and that was our start point. We had church shopped a couple times in other places here in Silverton. I had this criteria on what a church should be when we came here. And I finally realized I had to kind of surrender that. And that was a little unfair. And so I was told about Silver Creek Fellowship, and we came here. When we came here, we met Josiah and Sheila in the children's ministry, and it was so amazing. I don't even really remember. All I remember, it just felt so good. And I heard a message, and it just was like that relief and that and it really felt like home. I think God's changed my heart in perspective. God is so big and he's so unpredictable, right? And when you are told that the things that God can do in your life are unimaginable, you can't really even put it into words until you've experienced it. And the things that I can speak about are the things that have been profound in my life. And it sets me back. It really does. We did get our home. We found a small school, a little farm school. The boxes, like I said, that we have outlined for our family were getting checked off. I still feel like it's blurry, but we're making it. The more I came to celebrate recovery, the more folks were like me or had paths that didn't resemble what I thought a Christian was. You know, they had stuff that they were working through. The people who represent Silver Creek Fellowship is what gave me hope ultimately, and it still does. This is a broken world, and to have a place where broken people can come and worship and be encouraged and loved on, and the flaws just not be there. It's what makes me feel welcome and loved here.
Welcome, everyone. I'm sure glad you're here with us today. My Grandpa Barnes was a fisherman. I'm sure that during his lifetime he must have had a job of some kind, but I never knew what it was. One thing I did know about my Grandpa Barnes, he loved to fish. Grandpa thought a day without fishing was really just a wasted day. He was ready to fish anytime, anywhere, but he particularly liked to fish over at Wickiup Reservoir. Grandpa took his little house trailer over there every year. He'd tow it over across the mountain. He would park it by the lake, and it would just stay there the whole summer. As I grew up as a kid, I would hear stories about Grandpa's fishing trips to Wickiup, about catching German brown trout and kokanee, which were his very favorite. My grandpa always had a good fishing story. I think some of them were even true. And today we're going to look at one of the greatest fishing stories of all time. None of the fishing stories that you've ever heard can match the one we're going to look at today in Luke chapter 5. Now, this is a story in the Bible that's very early on in Jesus' ministry. He's only done one miracle prior to this. He's turned water into wine at a wedding, and now it's time for the next miracle, and it happens when Jesus is getting ready to call his first disciples. Let me give you some background. 4 of Jesus' 12 disciples were fishermen. They were 2 sets of brothers, Peter and Andrew, and James and John. And these 2 sets of brothers had a fishing business on the beautiful Lake of Galilee. Actually, the Bible calls it the Sea of Galilee, but it's also called Lake Gennesaret, and it's also called the Sea of Tiberias. There's 3 different names, but all are for the same beautiful lake in the northern part of Israel. So we jump into the story today. These guys are not yet disciples of Jesus. They're just commercial fishermen. They're making a living catching fish. And they've been out fishing all night and they've caught nothing. I mean, they came out nada, not zip. They've worked hard. They've been fishing for 10 hours. They're tired. They're discouraged. They've come up empty. And then here comes Jesus. He's got a big crowd following him. And as he comes up to these guys, he asks them, "Can I use your boat as a platform to speak from?" Luke chapter 5, let me read it, verse 1. One day, as Jesus was standing by the lake of Gennesaret, with the people crowding around him and listening to the word of God, he saw at the water's edge 2 boats left there by the fishermen who were washing their nets. He got into one of the boats, the one belonging to Simon, he's talking about Simon Peter, and asked him to put out a little from shore. Then he sat down and taught the people from the boat. So Jesus has been attracting these enormous crowds. Everybody wants to hear him teach. They're just fascinated by Jesus. He's doing miracles, he's healing people, and everywhere he goes, the crowds are pressing up against him. And so when Jesus sees these 2 boats and these 4 very tired fishermen, he asks them, "Let me use one of your boats as a speaking platform. I'll get in the boat, you just push it out a little ways from the shore." And so that's what they did. Jesus sits down and he begins to teach. So get this picture in your mind. Jesus is sitting in the boat a little way out from the shore. The crowd is on the shore listening. And then it says in verse 4, when Jesus had finished speaking, he said to Simon, "Now launch out into deep water and let the nets down for a catch." You got to remember, these are commercial fishermen. They fished all night. They're dog tired. Simon answered, "Sir, we've worked hard all night and we haven't caught anything." I wonder if you've felt like that before in your life. I've worked hard all night and I haven't caught anything. I haven't made a sale. I haven't closed a deal. I haven't sold a house. I've worked hard and I've caught nothing. You can actually hear the discouragement in Peter's voice, and sometimes that happens in our lives. Sometimes if you give it your best shot, you still come up short. Sometimes you work long and you work hard and you got nothing to show for it. We've worked all night and we've caught nothing. Sometimes you even do what you think is right. Sometimes you even do what you think God's leading you to do, and it just doesn't pan out. I mean, you start a business and it falls apart. You've worked hard. You think God's been leading you all the way, but it just doesn't happen. I know some of you have been trying to hang in there with your marriage and you struggle. Maybe you even got some counseling and you read some books and you're really trying hard to make things work, but you just don't see any improvement at all, and it just isn't getting any better. Or maybe you work at a job. I know many of you have done this. You've been responsible, you've been faithful, you've been diligent. You worked as a hardworking employee. All of a sudden something happens, something like this virus comes along, and you're laid off, you're out of work. You've worked hard all night and you've caught nothing. So this miracle that Jesus does is going to teach us, what do you do when you come up empty? What do you do when you've been fishing all night and you don't see any results from it? And I think it's a very powerful miracle, because you need to understand the principle behind this miracle if you're going to get through this thing. If you're going to get through this virus, if you're going to get through this relationship, if you're going to get through this, whatever it is you're trying to get through, you're going to need to understand what these 4 fishermen did. Because what they did when Jesus tells them what to do is what causes the miracle. And not only is it a miracle that provides for them, it provides so much. They have so much blessing, they can't actually handle it. They're blessed to the point that they actually have to share the blessing they receive with other people. So Jesus uses Simon Peter's boat as a platform. He's preaching the good news. And then it says in verse 4, Luke chapter 5, after Jesus finished speaking, he said to Simon, "Now launch out into deep water, let down your nets for a catch." When they had done so, they caught such a large number of fish that their nets began to break. Now that is a lot of fish. So they signaled their partner, James and John, they're over in the other boat. So they signaled their partners in the other boat to come and help them. And they came and filled both boats so full of fish that they began to sink. Now, friends, even Grandpa Barnes doesn't have a fish story that's as good as that one. Because this is not just a story, this is a miracle. And the point is, they caught more fish in 10 minutes than they'd caught in the 10 previous hours. And the truth is, God can do more in your life in 10 minutes than you can do in 10 hours or 10 years, if you will do what he tells you to do. See, what makes the difference between working all night and coming up empty and having so much blessing in your life that you're sinking from it is that you do what Jesus says. Matthew 9:29, Jesus famously said this, "According to your faith, it will be done unto you." according to your faith. The disciples took some steps of faith. You need to learn these steps of faith if you're going to make it through difficult times. When you're coming up empty at work, when you're coming up empty in your marriage, you're going to have to do these things that Peter and Andrew and James and John did. And the first thing that they did is they gave Jesus complete access to their life. If I want to turn from emptiness to overflowing, I need to give Jesus complete access to my life. It says in verse 5, Jesus got into one of the boats, the one that belongs to Simon, and he asked him to put out a little from shore. Then he sat down and taught the people from the boat. And here's the starting point. It's pretty simple. You got to get Jesus in your boat. That's the place you start. If you want to move from emptiness to fullness, you got to get Jesus in your boat. And you need to see this. They had worked hard all night and they'd caught nothing. In 10 hours, they had gone with no catch at all. But now in 10 minutes, they're catching more than they can handle. What's the difference here? It's the same lake. It's the same boat. It's the same nets. It's the same fishermen. Hey, it's even the same fish. The only thing that's different in this story between nothing in the boat and fullness in the boat is Jesus in the boat. Do you think Jesus in the boat makes a difference? Well, for sure it makes a difference. Jesus in the boat is a game changer because now God is with them. Now they're not just fishing by themselves anymore. They're not just in their career by themselves anymore. They got Jesus on the job. Their business now has the master in control. So let's apply this. Let's stop and think about this. What is your boat? Well, I want to suggest that your boat is how you make a living. It's your means of support. Simon's business is his boat. He's a fisherman. Simon's in the boat business, and so what does he do? Well, he gives his boat to Jesus. He gives his job to Jesus. The boat represents your career, your vocation, your profession, your job. And for Simon, it represented his entire livelihood. So what's your boat? How is it that you make your living? What does it mean to have Jesus in your boat? Well, I think what it means is to dedicate your career to God. We're not just talking about salvation here. I mean, you have Jesus in your life, but do you have Jesus in your job? You've trusted him for salvation. I mean, you come and you praise God on Sunday, but when you go back to work on Monday, oftentimes we just put Jesus on the shelf and Jesus is nowhere to be found on the job. And he's certainly not using your job as a platform for his ministry. To give your boat to Jesus means you say, Jesus, my job is a platform for your ministry. I dedicate my career to you for your use. You know, when Peter did that, when Peter gave his job to Jesus, he gets blessed with incredible results. So you got to get Jesus in the boat. And when you do that, he takes care of your needs. So I have a question for you to think about. Have you committed your boat to Jesus? I mean, sure, you've committed your life to Jesus, but have you committed your boat to Jesus? Because some of you are going through tough times right now, and you're trying to change everything else. The disciples, they didn't need to change their tactics. They didn't need to change their nets. They didn't need to change boats. They didn't need to change business partners. They didn't even need to change locations. They didn't need to have a different spouse or a different partner. They just needed to have Jesus in charge of the boat. That's what they needed. And some of you are trying everything else. Some of you are thinking right now, maybe I just got to get out of Silverton. Maybe I just need to get out of this marriage. Maybe I just need to get out of this job. Actually, you just need to put Jesus in charge of your boat. That's the very first step. The second thing to do is I admit that my efforts aren't working. In verse 4 of Luke 5, it says, when Jesus had finished speaking, he said to Simon, put out into deep water and let down the nets for a catch. Simon Peter answered, Master, we've worked hard all night and we haven't caught anything. I wonder if you might realize how hard it would be for for Peter to say this, because he's a professional fisherman. These guys are not amateurs. These guys are not weekend fishermen. They're actually really good at this. They make their living at this. They know how to do it. But sometimes, even when you're a pro, you can fish all night and catch nothing. And it's pretty hard to say this. It's pretty hard to say we didn't catch anything. Peter not catching any fish, maybe it's like Damian Lillard playing an entire basketball game and not making a single basket. Or maybe it'd be like Tiger Woods playing a round of golf and he never sinks one single putt. Now, it's humbling. And the truth is, these guys have been doing their best. These are good guys. They're good at what they do. But friends, sometimes our best isn't good enough. It's just not good enough. And sometimes there are situations that are out of your control. We can't control diseases. We can't control economies. We can't control the weather. There's a lot of things in life you can't control. We can't control other people. For sure, we can't control the aging process. Boy, am I aware of that recently. Most of the major things in your life you just can't control. And so a lot of times we start thinking, I've worked so hard and it just doesn't make any difference. I've worked so hard and I just don't have much to show for it. So what do? Well, the first thing you do, you get Jesus in your boat. The second thing you do, you admit that my way is not working. The Bible calls that confession, and it's humbling. And we don't want to admit it. I don't want to admit it. Why? Why don't I want to admit that it's not working? Well, I want to tell you why. 3 reasons: pride, stubbornness, and fear. I don't want to admit it because of pride, because I just don't want people to know that I can't handle it. I want people to think, hey, Rob's got it all together. But pride keeps me from admitting that I can't handle it. And then the second thing, stubbornness. Stubbornness is when I just am not willing to change the way I've been doing it. Stubbornness is when I say, no, this is the way we've always done it. Could I just tell you the great enemy of tomorrow's success is yesterday's success? Here's a reality check. We're not in yesterday anymore. You got to do it differently today. This is an amazing thing that we're learning here as we try to lead the church forward in this difficult time. Just the way that we've always done it probably is not ever going to work again. And so we need to have Jesus tell us the way to do it. Yesterday's success will keep you from success today. So it's stubbornness, and then it's traditionalism. And this is a real problem for a lot of pastors. And it happens to almost every spiritual leader. It happened to Moses. Moses was leading the children of Israel out of Egypt. And it was a trip that should have taken him a couple weeks, but it took him 40 years to get across the desert. In those 40 years of wandering, at several points, they ran out of water. And there was one particular story where God says, I'm going to do a miracle. I'm going to surprise everybody. And he tells Moses, I want you to take your stick and I want you to go strike that big rock. And so Moses strikes the rock. Water comes gushing out. An artesian well springs up, and it's an amazing miracle. And then later on, they have another water problem. They run out again. So Moses thinks, no problem. I'll just do what we did last time. I'll just find a rock and I'll strike it. But God says, no, we're not going to do it that way this time. This time, I don't want you to strike the rock. This time, I want you to speak to the rock. But Moses says, Lord, that's not the way I do it. Remember, Lord, I'm the famous rock striker. And the whole nation saw me do it last time. I strike rocks and water comes out. And God says, no, don't do it that way. But Moses did it anyway. Moses did it the same way he did it the first time. And when he did, God got mad at him and said, Moses, that's a sin. And because you did it your way, you don't get to go into the promised land. Traditionalism is refusing to change. It was refusing to do it God's way. It was refusing to do what God wanted to do. So friends, you and I, when God says, we got to be willing to change. Stubbornness and pride and fear, they keep me from admitting I've fished all night and I've caught nothing. I'm afraid people will think less of me. In fact, I'm afraid if Jesus gets in my boat, he'll take me in a direction I don't want to go. If I put Jesus in my job, he'll make me some kind of religious fanatic. He'll turn me into something. I'm just scared to death to give Jesus my job. So, regardless of the cause, the second step is to admit it isn't working. And then the third step is this: obey whatever Jesus tells me to do. In other words, I'm willing to do whatever he tells me, even if I don't like it, even if it doesn't make sense, even if it's illogical, even if it appears foolish, even if other people say it's stupid. I got to be willing to do what God tells me to do. It doesn't always make sense, but I obey anyway. I obey whatever Jesus tells me to do. In verse 5, Jesus says to launch out into deep water, and Simon tells him, Master, we've worked hard all night and we haven't caught anything. We're empty. We've come up empty. But listen to this. Here's the key. But because you say so, I will let down the nets. This is the key to the miracle that's found in this verse. Because you say so. Not because I think so, not because it's smart, not because it makes sense, not because everybody else is doing it. I'm going to do this, Jesus, because you say so. Not only Jesus is in the boat now, Jesus is giving fishing instructions. I want you to notice what Peter does not do. First, what Peter doesn't do is he doesn't argue with Jesus. He doesn't say, "Excuse me, Lord, you're a carpenter, I'm a fisherman, you know wood, I know fish. The fish ain't biting today. I'm a pro at this. I know my job better than you do, Lord." Now, Peter doesn't say that. He doesn't argue. He doesn't hesitate. When Jesus says, "Launch out," Peter doesn't say, "We need to have a discussion about this, Lord. Fish don't bite during the day. They don't bite during the heat of the day. They bite at night when it's cool." No, Peter says, "Because you say so." Friends, if you would become a because you say so man, if you would become a because you say so woman, God will bless your life. Even when his instructions don't make any sense at all, because you say so, God, I'm going to do it. I'm going to trust you in faith. So let me ask you, what has God told you to do that you're not doing? Some of you want God to give you instructions about your job, but he's already giving you instructions about some other things and you're just not doing it. See, God's not going to tell you the 4th, 5th, and 6th steps to do if you're not doing the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd ones. And for some of you, God's given some clear instructions. God says, "I want you to start tithing," but you're not doing it. God says, "I want you to forgive that person and stop holding a grudge." But you think, "I don't want to. I'm not going to do that." Well, friends, you're only hurting yourself. I don't know what God has already told you to do, but you do. God has told some of you, you need to be baptized. But God, and God has told some of you, you need to be in a small group. And you say, "But God, I don't want to do it." Well, I can tell you this. Disobedience always hurts you. It doesn't hurt God, it hurts you. You're the one who misses the blessing. So Jesus tells Peter, "Launch out now." By the way, could I just tell you, launch out is always risky. It's always risky to launch out. And God, he'll always force you to take a risk. Why? Because there's no faith without risk. And without faith, the Bible tells us it's impossible to please God. So Jesus says, "Launch out," and then he tells him, "Launch out into deep water." I want you to launch out into deep water. Why does God tell Peter to do that? Well, here's the reason why. That's where the big fish are. They're in the big water, the deep water. But most people live their lives in the shallow end of life. Most people never get in over their heads. So here's the deal. Most people have just enough of Jesus to bug them, but not enough to bless them. They come to church, they paddle around in the shallow end of life, they barely get their feet wet, and they're afraid to get in over their head, and they miss the best that God has to offer. Why? Why do so many people live in the shallow end of life? Why do so many people live in the shallows? Because it's safer there. There's no big waves by the shoreline. Your boat doesn't get rocked around. It's not risky to live in the shallow waters of life. We live in the shallow waters because it's safer there. We like nice little comfort zones, and we want God to bless our plans, but we're not willing to use our boat as his platform. Let me just tell you something that might be something you haven't considered before. One of the reasons that God is allowing this difficulty into your life right now is to force you into deeper water. He loves you too much to let you stay in the shallows. So he's forcing you to launch out into the deep so that you'll take a risk. Obeying Jesus when it doesn't make sense is the scariest, riskiest, most dangerous thing to do in life, but it's also the most rewarding way to live. It's the way he does things. And then here's the fourth thing. The first thing, I give complete access of my life to Jesus. The second thing, I admit my efforts aren't working. The third thing, I obey whatever Jesus tells me to do because you say so. The fourth thing, I expect Jesus to turn things around. Now follow me on this. If God tells you to go fishing, and then he gets in the boat with you, and then he tells you to let down your nets over there, Do you think you're going to come up empty? Because I don't think so. 1 Thessalonians 5:24 tells us this: the one who calls you is completely dependable. If he said it, he'll do it. Now, you have to think this through. If God can control the forces of nature, if God can, I don't know how he does it, tell all the fish in the Sea of Galilee, come over to this spot right now, and all these little fishies, they swim over, and then he says, okay guys, let down your nets now. If God can control nature like that, and obviously he can, well then he can get you a job. He can get you what you need. He can take care of you. But you gotta do it his way. He can do it overnight. He can do it in 10 minutes. He can do it after all the delays and the difficulties and the dead ends and all the stuff you've been through. And then notice the result. In verse 6, when they had done so, when they had done what? When they obeyed what Jesus told them to do. When they had done so, they caught such a large number of fish that their nets began to break. So they signaled their partners in the other boat to come and help them, and they came and filled both boats so full that they began to sink. Listen, the blessing was more than they could even handle. In fact, if they didn't start sharing it, they were going to sink. And that's just how God works. God's looking for people to bless. It's not like God doesn't want to bless people. God's looking for people to bless. And friends, if you will get blessable, he will bless your socks off. Right now, right in the middle of this pandemic, God is looking for people to show his power through. It says in the Old Testament in 2 Chronicles 16:9, the eyes of the Lord search back and forth across the whole earth, looking for people whose hearts are perfect towards him, so that he can show his great power in helping them. See, he's not looking to make you a fat cat. What he wants to do is use you to show that he's God. And so his plan is to bless you in such a way that when people see you, they see the blessing of God in your life. And then God gets the glory. God's looking for people. God wants to bless you so much that you become a blessing to other people. So notice Peter's reaction. Verse 8. When Simon Peter saw this, when he saw the miracle of the fish, he fell at Jesus' knees and he said, "Go away from me, Lord, I'm a sinful man." Now you have to remember, he's not a disciple yet, he's just a fisherman. "Go away from me, Lord, I'm a sinful man." In other words, God, I don't deserve to have you around. For he and all his companions were astonished at the catch of fish they had taken, and so were James and John, the sons of Zebedee. These are Simon's business partners. This miracle is the turning point in their lives. And so I want you to notice what the real lesson is. In verse 10, it says, "Then Jesus said to Simon, 'Don't be afraid.'" But of course, Peter was afraid. He'd seen God do an unbelievable thing. "Don't be afraid. From now on, you will catch men." A new element in this miracle. It's not about money. It's about people. It's not about possessions. It's about God's purpose for your life. This miracle is not even about keeping a whole bunch of fish. It's about the kingdom of God. He's getting ready to call these guys to follow him. So he does a huge miracle in their business, but it's not about making them successful businessmen. It's about making them available for the kingdom ministry that he has. Jesus tells them, "I'm going to teach you how to fish for men. I'm going to teach you how to change the world. I'm going to teach you how to be used by God to change lives and homes and companies and communities. I'm going to use you to fish for people." So Jesus says, don't be afraid. From now on, you'll catch men. You'll fish for men. I want to remind you of something. So many times we see these Bible stories as children's stories, but when Jesus came and called these disciples, these were fully grown men and women. He called business people. He called professional people. He called people to leave their jobs and follow him. It says in verse 10, Jesus said to Simon, "Don't be afraid. From now on, you'll catch men." Here's the response. So they pulled up their boats onto the shore, left everything, and followed Jesus. Do you see what happens? They leave everything. They leave all those stinking fish in the boat. They didn't even stop to clean them. They're not thinking, hey, we've made enough in this catch to live for the next 5 years. This is an incredible miracle. We're in the money now. What do? They walk away from it all. They start following Jesus. Why? Now get this. Because they were more interested in the blesser than they were in the blessing. And that's the question I want to ask you today. Are you Are you more interested in the blessing or in the blesser? Because too often today, we're more interested in getting the blessing than being involved with the blesser. That day, those fishermen, they were changed forever. That day, they learned if they followed Christ, there's plenty more blessing to come. And so I want to pray for you today. As we go through all the stuff we go through, I want to pray for you. Maybe you just bow your head, close your eyes right now for just a minute and say in your heart, Lord, I've fished all night and I've caught nothing. And I know it, and you know it, and I've been struggling, but I want to follow you. I want to leave my nets and follow you completely. So first, Lord, I'm committing my job to you. It's your job from now on. I'll just be your missionary there in that place. And then today, Lord, I want to give you complete access to my life. All of it. My job, my marriage, my sex life, my friendships, my bank account. Lord, it's yours. Please get in my boat. I give it all to you. And the last thing, Lord, I just have to admit, things have not been working. I've fished all night. Sometimes I've been prideful. Sometimes I've been stubborn. Sometimes I've been very fearful. And what I need to do, Lord, is trust you. And so, Lord, I invite you. Please get in my boat. I'm going to do the things you told me to do. Those things I thought I should do, but I haven't done. They were too expensive. They were too embarrassing. They didn't make sense. I'm going to launch out into the deep, and I'm going to trust you. I'm going to expect you to turn things around. I want your blessings, but more than that, Lord, I want to follow you, the blesser. I pray it in Jesus' name. Amen.
We are now going to enter into a time of worship. And I want to encourage you, wherever you are watching, join with us. Join your hearts, join your voice, and sing. Because there's something that happens when we worship together corporately. God says He inhabits the praises of His people. And right now, our community, more than anything else, needs the presence of the living God. So let's worship now together.
Keeper of the day and the night, holder of the sun and the sky, you command the waters and the wind. There's not one thing you're not greater than. Greater than the mountain that's in front of me. You are greater, so much greater. Greater than the power of the enemy. You are greater, so much greater. Faithful over all of my days, God above the storms that I face. My hope is in your name and nothing less. There's not one thing you're not greater than. Greater than the mountain that's in front of me. You are greater, so much greater. Greater than the power of the enemy. You are greater, so much greater. Jesus. No guilt, no shame, no sin, no stain is greater than the great I am. it all, worthy of it all. My heart and soul belong to you. Yes, Jesus, only you are worthy, Lord. We want to give you all of us, Lord, every part of us, Lord. In your name we pray. Amen.
Wow, it's really awesome to hear the word of God and to be able to worship together. So I want to make sure you know that if you're going through something, if you're sick, you're dealing with anxiety, with all this stuff going on, or this is causing some financial difficulty, or you know somebody, we have live prayer going. There's a button right there that you can click on, and we're going to have a prayer team ready to pray privately with you for the next 15 minutes.
And don't forget to join us Sunday at 10 a.m. for our kids' church. You can learn more about that at scf.tv/lodge.
So if you're watching live today, remember after both services, we're going to have 15 minutes of fellowship time. You just go to scf.tv/lobby, grab a cup of coffee, and come hang out with us.
Thanks, everybody. It's great seeing you all today. Bye-bye.